Today I'm looking at alpha lock, clipping masks and layer masks in Procreate. Hi everyone, Steve Elliott here again. I knocked up this quick painting of a night sky, well not a night sky, I don't know, a nebula, whatever you call it, I don't know. But anyway, it's a background that I'm going to use to illustrate different types of masking like alpha locks and layer masks and so on. So I begin by using the new shape tool in Procreate to draw a circle, crash drastically because it's not a circle, and it took me a while to work out you need to hold the 3 fingers down to actually get a decent circle. There we go, and I fill that in, and it's still not perfect because the brush I've used got a bit of a taper on it. So you've got that kind of a little dip on there, but never mind, because this is going to be a planet. And the first method I'm going to look at is alpha locks. Now, alpha locks are the easiest to get your head round, I guess. It's just sort of, you choose alpha lock, which I'll show you in a second. But it is destructive. Whatever you do to the layer, you cannot undo it after. So that is the downside with alpha locks. So this is what you do. You open up your layer stack and you slide, it took me a while to put this out, you slide to the left and choose alpha lock. Once you've done that, you can only paint where there are pixels on that layer. So the pixels on this layer is that sort of grey, light grey circle. So I'm going to choose a turpentine brush because I'm going to try and create the surface of a planet, and I want it to be kind of textured. So that's why I'm using that. But what you can see straight away, once I start painting with this, is you do not go out of that circle, so you can only paint on what pixels are already there. So that's a really useful way of sort of painting over something and changing the colour. I used it the other day in actual fact. I was painting this pheasant and I'd done some feathers on it that were brown, and I wanted to darken them up, and I thought I don't want to draw the old thing again, so I just put the alpha lock on for a second and scribbled over it very quickly, and then turn the alpha lock off. So the only thing is with this, you are actually painting on the same layer. So you've just locked the alpha lock. You can only paint on the pixels, but I am painting over the pixels. So I cannot undo. Well, you can use the undo tool and go back, but only so far. And once you've done it, you are stuck with it. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit just to finish off the sketching in of this moon. And I want to get to using an eraser. Now, if you use an eraser on the alpha lock, it erases the original pixels that were there. Well, any of the pixels on the layer. So once you've done that, as you erase them away, you can no longer paint into the area that you have erased, because that layer becomes locked, or those pixels becomes locked, I should say. So that's important to know. If you start erasing, you can no longer work on that area. So I've erased that away, and then I'll start painting it, and you can see where I've erased pixels, I can no longer paint in that. So you need to be aware that any erasing you do locks that part of the layer, and you can no longer work on it. So that's alpha lock. Again, I'm going to fast forward and get to the next item. So I'm going to create a new layer. There we go. That's a new layer, and I'm going to use the same technique again to draw another circle using the 3-finger technique to make sure it is a circle. And then I'm going to spend a lot of time fiddling about, getting it just the right size, and then fill it in by dragging the colour into that circle. And then I'm going to mess it up a little bit. And this time we're looking at clipping masks. So to do that, you create another layer above the layer with a circle on it. And then from the list, choose clipping mask. That will indent the layer slightly, and it works exactly the same as the alpha layer, or it appears to work exactly the same as the alpha layer, where when you start painting in it, you can only paint within that white circle that I've drawn. You can't paint outside of that. So it appears at first to be another way of doing exactly the same thing as alpha lock. There are subtle differences though. So I'm just going to go in and continue to paint this in and fill it in, and fast forward to the bit where the differences appear. Once we've painted this moon in, or planet, if we select the layer, the white layer, and then resize it, do you notice that the layer above it, or the clipping mask layer, doesn't change? So it doesn't scale with that circle that we're resizing. It stays the same. So that's one of the first differences. And the second is I can toggle on and off the white layer and it hides them both. But if I toggle off the clipping mask, you see the white layer underneath it. So they are independent of each other, unlike the alpha lock. The clipping mask is a different entity to the circle itself, and they work independently. You can, of course, erase. If you start erasing on the clipping layer, it doesn't, like in the alpha lock where it took away the pixels off the old layer. It only removes the pixels on the clipping mask. It doesn't remove the pixels on that white circle underneath. So that's another difference. And if you go back to the white circle, you can erase that. And if you start to soften off the edge and just erase that away, it hides the drawing that you've got on the clipping mask as well. You can see there I've erased some of the layer away and the clipping mask is hidden. So that is clipping masks, a little bit more powerful than alpha lock, and you can obviously undo things a lot easier, or you can basically, you've got two separate layers that you can work on. I'm just going back to the alpha lock original layer and putting a little bit of shadow on that planet, just because I know it's got nothing to do with this tutorial really, but it's just me wanting to make it look a little bit more I don't know if realistic is the right word, but I just felt it needed that just to set it off. So what I'm going to do now, that's the clipping mask. I am going to create a new layer, and this is going to be for another circle that I'm going to draw. So here we are. I'm just drawing in this circle, getting it filled in really quick, and I'm going to speed paint it just to get that filled in. I use the alpha lock for that as well as I did previously. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to create a new layer, and this is going to be a layer mask layer. So I create it above the layer that I've painted in. I select mask and it adds that new layer look, and that is the layer mask. Now this works very differently to the others, because what this layer does, it doesn't add colour to to the layer below it. You can actually erase it or hide portions of it, and you do that by, if you have a white brush, it shows everything that's on the layer beneath it. If you use a black brush or black paint, it hides everything. So I'm now using white paint, look, and I'm painting on that layer mask, and it restores the planet below it. And if I use a black colour, it starts to mask it. And if I use a grey colour, a neutral grey in between white and black, you can use that to reduce the opacity so it becomes transparent. So that is a really cool tool. And the beautiful thing about this is it's totally non-destructive. So by choosing white or black at any time, you can obliterate something or totally restore it. So I am using the masking layer now with black paint or a dark grey to get the effect of a crescent moon. So sort of hiding some of the planet. And there you see I'm getting that sort of soft edge, which gives you that look of the crescent moon. And that is basically all there is to layer masks. It's really a way of masking off areas and being able to restore them by painting with black or white. And you can move them about. They move together when you move one or the other or resize it, as you can see there, as I'm doing. And I'm deciding where I'm going to put my moon or planet or whatever it is. I'm just deciding where to position it. And that's it. So you can see there we've got the layer mask above the above the layer that it is actually obliterating. And if you can again toggle it on and off to show the old layer below it. So very simple, very different to the clipping mask. It does a very different job, and it's just like using masking fluid. I suppose if you was using paint, you could sort of put masking fluid onto masking area. And that's basically all there is to the layer mask. So that is the three masks covered: the alpha lock, the clipping mask, and the layer mask. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to create a new layer. I'm going to choose an airbrush, a soft airbrush, and just add a little bit of atmosphere to this planet, just to finish off my painting, really. So this again has got nothing to do with the layers, but I'm just sort of adding a little bit of artistic license just to finish off this. Now I did use some reference materials for this, and that was on Pixabay. So a free source of copyright free images. I didn't copy anything exact. I made up my own scene or painting, but I did get some ideas off Pixabay. So I will leave a link for that in the description. And that is it. That is my tutorial on alpha masks, clipping masks, and I should say alpha lock, clipping masks, and layer masks. I hope you have found this video useful. If you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.